This means the Europeans are not interested in these negotiations, not interested in achieving peace, and overall only Russia is interested in this.
But we will achieve this peace either on the battlefield or at the negotiating table. Peace on our terms.
Reports of an imminent Russian summer offensive and troop buildups on Ukraine's border are raising alarms in Sumy Oblast and fears that a large-scale assault could be on the horizon. Russian President Vladimir Putin on May 22nd said he had ordered his military to create a security buffer zone along the border, and President Volodymyr Zelensky later claimed 50,000 of Moscow's troops were amassed in the direction of Sumy. These are trained combat units, airborne troops, Marines, those that were specially transferred to displace our troops, a source in Ukraine's defense forces told the Kyiv Independent. Russian forces have already launched limited offensive operations and captured a small number of villages in the Oblast, but soldiers and experts who spoke to the Kyiv Independent say the Kremlin's full intentions remain murky. Adding to the information fog, journalists' access to Sumy Oblast has been limited by the Security Service of Ukraine since the withdrawal from Kursk Oblast, and the Ukrainian military has shared little information on the frontline situation. When contacted by the Kyiv Independent, the Ukrainian military command of Kursk Oblast declined to comment, citing a limited ability to comment on the situation in the area. The warning of a renewed Russian push into Sumy Oblast comes 2 months after Ukrainian troops had to withdraw from Russia's adjacent Kursk Oblast after losing the logistics hub town of Sudzha. As soon as Ukraine's costly Kursk operation died out, Russian troops took the momentum and began raids into Sumy Oblast, depriving Kyiv of the opportunity to recover and rebuild the defenses there. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump continues to push for peace talks to end the war at all costs, with Ukraine and Russia planning to meet again in Istanbul on June 2nd, despite previous talks yielding minimal results. Uncertain of what might lay ahead, Ukrainian soldiers on the ground are bracing for tougher days. With many units exhausted after 7 months of holding on to the Kursk salient under heavy Russian FPV drones and glide bombs, Kyiv's ability to hold the Sumy Oblast defense would depend on how it can reinforce the area despite a manpower shortage. Ukrainian local authorities admitted on May 26th that Russia has already captured 4 border villages in Sumy Oblast, including Novenka, Zhuravka, Vasilivka, and Basivka. Russian troops were deploying the now familiar tactics of using small assault groups, relying on fast movement with quad bikes, according to a deputy company commander with the 80th Air Assault Brigade, who goes by his call sign, Third. Only time will tell how prepared Ukraine is, he told the Kyiv Independent. Russia is conducting small assaults most actively in the areas of the Zhuravka and Basivka villages, but it has also widened the attempt zone using similar tactics, according to the State Border Guard Service spokesperson, Andriy Demchenko. Russian forces have also begun pushing westward, near the villages of Vasilivka and Volodymyrivka, but are reportedly suffering heavy losses. Despite the fact that the enemy is suffering losses, we see that they openly do not give a damn about their soldiers, Demchenko told the Kyiv Independent. The scale at which Russia plans to advance into Sumy Oblast is unclear. So far, it has been a gradual push over the past few weeks, slowly capturing the border villages, according to Emil Kastahelmi, an analyst at the Finland-based Blackbird Group monitoring the war closely through open sources. He expected it to continue in the near future. Demchenko from the State Border Guard confirmed to the Kyiv Independent on May 20th that Russia was bringing more equipment into the border area. He said that attacks remained small incursions with squads of infantry using equipment no larger than quad bikes. It is unclear how much equipment Moscow amassed near Sumy Oblast. A civilian evacuation in Sumy Oblast, a region that has been regularly struck by Russian attacks since 2022 but intensified since the Kursk incursion, is ongoing. Nearly 56,000 residents were evacuated from Sumy Oblast under mandatory evacuation orders, Governor Oleg Hryhorov said on May 19th. As of May 20th, a representative for the Regional Military Administration said that 3 municipalities, Bilopilya, Vorozhba, and Nova Sloboda, had been asked to evacuate in the preceding month, but said authorities were not yet forcing residents to evacuate. As for what's happening on the border itself, only soldiers can answer, but as of today, there's no threat to the Oblast from there, they told the Kyiv Independent. While Russian forces will likely continue their slow kind of offensive operation in the northern border areas of Sumy Oblast, the eastern region of Donbass will likely remain Moscow's priority, according to Kastahelmi from the Blackbird Group. He said he would be surprised if Sumy Oblast became one of the main axes of any Russian summer offensive, given that it would further stretch Moscow's troops and it could likely achieve more on other fronts, such as the Donbass or the southeastern Zaporizhzhia Oblast. It's likely that the Russians continue to attack in Sumy Oblast too, but I would assess it as a secondary direction where they can tie up Ukrainian resources, he said. Border areas are usually difficult to fortify due to raids from both sides and their proximity to Russia, which makes engineering equipment particularly vulnerable to potential attacks. Kastahelmi said that while Russia appears to have captured more villages than the Ukrainian local authorities had confirmed, the pace has been really slow, and Moscow could simply be trying to prevent another potential Ukrainian incursion. They may try to gain more ground there, in Sumy Oblast, maybe capture a few more villages, but it doesn't really change the general situation if the Russians control just a small sector, Kastahelmi said. The deputy company commander from the 80th Brigade, 3rd, said that the situation near the border was more or less normal and controlled, and Sumy continued to live its life to the fullest, despite the nightly drone attacks. But the high number of Russian troops deployed near Sumy Oblast still has Ukrainian soldiers on the ground on their toes. Ilya, a serviceman from the 80th Brigade, said in mid-May that he was not sure whether there would be an offensive into Sumy Oblast, but expected the assaults to continue. There could be an offensive. There could not be as well, he told the Kyiv Independent. The source in Ukraine's defense forces told the Kyiv Independent that Russia's full intentions will depend on whether or not it manages to secure the so-called security buffer zone ordered by Putin. It is clear to us that if they manage to do this, they will go further, they said, because Russia's overall goal has not changed, to occupy all of Ukraine. Ahead of the next round of talks, Ukraine is hysterically provoking Russia to sabotage negotiations, claims State Duma Defense Committee head Andrei Kartapolov. He argues that for Zelensky the war has become profitable. In Germany, he was promised 5 billion euros. Why, if talks are ongoing? It means Europe isn't interested in peace. Only Russia is. But we will achieve peace, on the battlefield or at the table, on our terms.
Before each new round of negotiations, they always have an outbreak of hysteria and all their mental illnesses flare up. They try to provoke us into retaliations, presenting our retaliations as excessive aggression, as attacks on civilians, in order to, at the very least, disrupt these negotiations and continue military actions. For Zelensky and his gang, the war has become profit. They have learned to sell war. It sounds strange, but nevertheless, it's a fact. The last trip to Germany, we see, please, they promise 5 billion. For what? For what purpose? Why?
Knowing that the negotiations are ongoing, he has given 5 billion. This means the Europeans are not interested in these negotiations, not interested in achieving peace, and overall, only Russia is interested in this.
But we will achieve this peace either on the battlefield or at the negotiating table. Peace on our terms.
At the UN Security Council, U.S. envoy John Kelly issued a vague warning. If Russia makes the wrong decision to continue its catastrophic war, the U.S. may reconsider its support for peace talks. He added, "This wouldn't mean abandoning our principles or allies, but acknowledging Russia's refusal to cooperate." Ukrainian developers have unveiled 7 reconnaissance drones that could become an alternative to DJI Mavic drones. The tests took place in the presence of the Ministry of Strategic Industries and the Unmanned Systems Forces Command. During the event, participants familiarized themselves with the technical characteristics and features of 7 drones developed and manufactured in Ukraine. The flight tests lasted 3 days under conditions of active electronic warfare, EW, and strong wind and rain. Our weapons engineers are working on the creation and continuous improvement of products in the category of reconnaissance multi-rotor UAVs, they said during the event. Ukraine is striving to create its own uninterrupted UAV ecosystem, from training to supply, from combat use to technical modernization. Following the tests, manufacturers established contacts with military units to refine the products and conduct further testing in real combat conditions. Recently, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that the Chinese company DJI, which manufactures Mavic drones, does not supply them to Ukraine, but instead helps to set up their production in Russia. According to him, Mavic production lines are operating in Russia, where Chinese specialists are working. When someone asks whether China is helping Russia, how should we assess these actions? Zelensky added. Last year, the Defense Ministry's Defense Procurement Agency purchased 4,000 DJI Mavic 3 drones for the armed forces of Ukraine for more than $500 million hryvnias. DJI Mavic 3 is an advanced quadcopter with a range of features and specifications that allow for taking high-quality photos and videos from the air. It is currently one of the most popular and advanced drones on the market.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.